We're looking for the printing of the new budget. We want something in print so we can see. In the midst of the issues with Iran and the US, things are still moving ahead in Iraq. It may be an uphill battle for al-Sudani and al-Ali al-Ak, but they is still aggressively moving forward. The dinar is finally rising in relation to the dollar. Yes, the dinar is finally slowly rising. It should not be long before Iraq rises to the top of the Middle East and they advance in the rest of the world in global stature. We are not likely to see any reinstatement of the dinar until Iran is broken. I mean the government leadership toppled and the terrorist networks abolished. I am told by my CBI contact this must take place to move ahead in Iraq and free Iraq. As long as Iran exists in its present state, the US is not going to release, or free, its dinar to the world. Comment, really will be glad to see an end to this movie. Marks, I think they are about to run the credits. Question, do you think the Vietnamese dong could go before the Iraqi dinar? At this point no. You like a pregnant mother that's 9.5 months pregnant, I believe that's where we're at with the Iraqi dinar. The Vietnamese dong, I believe they're still kind of like just finding out the test results was positive. Vietnam has amazing potential, especially with Trump around now. Due to the collapse of the Taman. Iranian parliament dismisses the Minister of Finance. Quote, Iran's parliament on Sunday dismissed Finance Minister Abdinazer Hemati after launching a no-confidence vote. They did not have any currency auctions as of Monday, March 3. Now, what were the two critical things the central bank states to us through the year 24, which by the way, you're still in, end the use of the dollar and end the currency auctions. Last Thursday/Friday they said the citizens' debit cards would no longer be able to access US dollar cash outside the country of Iraq. That's one way of exiting the dollar. They also said the currency auctions would end. When does their fiscal period end? The very end of March. When does the new budget period start? April 1st. Rate is changing in March, folks. Iraq's Ministry of Oil has announced finalized oil export volumes for January, but has again not disclosed the value of oil exports for the month. Iraq has now published their oil production totals, but once again, the values have been omitted. Is this to hide the use of a new dinar valuation? Is this to prevent budget totals from being revealed? This veil of secrecy leads many to wild speculations, but only time will tell the reason for such obfuscation. Question, what's your take on no auctions in Iraq since last Wednesday? Marks, my take is we are crossing the finish line. Just like Al-Alak said, no sanctions and transparency is what they needed in their white paper's monetary reforms to increase the purchasing power of the Iraqi dinar for all Iraqis. And return the rate to its former glory. Sudani is now passing out permits for mineral rights in Iraq. Pay attention, Iraq's wealth is immeasurable, you cannot measure it. It's like if someone says to you, count the stars. You cannot count the stars, you've got oil, gas, dates, produce, gold, silver, titanium, platinum. It is amazing. Precious metals is just one topic. 0.1310 has nothing to do with it. The IMF expects Iraq's non-oil economy to continue to grow by 3.5% in 2025. This is important. They rely too much on oil sales to fund their budget, and since they rely so much on the oil sales, this is one of the things contributing to the fact that the Iraqi dinar is so devalued. Because all it takes is one situation to happen in the oil market and it could tank the entire country like we saw in 2019 and 2020. The more non-oil revenue they could generate, the better. Sources say Trump signed off on the RV a few days ago. These sources do not know one another, but all had the same info. Informed sources reported on Wednesday that the mechanism for paying the expenses of production and transportation companies constitutes an obstacle to resuming the export of oil produced from the fields of the Kurdistan region to the Turkish port of Ceyhan, through the federal company SOMO. The sources told Shafak news agency that the Kurdistan region delegation that visited Baghdad early this week did not reach solutions to speed up the export process, due to the insistence of the companies concerned to obtain production and transportation fees in advance, before starting the export, indicating that the federal government in Baghdad refused to hand over any money to the region before settling all financial matters, including the debts owed by the Turkish side to Baghdad, nor any financial dues in advance before starting to resume the export. The sources explained that the production and transportation expenses, which were set at $16, are subject to adjustment after 2 months of re-exportation by appointing an intermediary company specialized in calculating the cost of production and transportation, and thus no expenses or wages will be paid before resuming exports. The sources indicated that another meeting may be held tomorrow, Thursday, or next week in Baghdad, with the attendance of a delegation from the Kurdistan region and representatives of oil companies. Last Sunday, March 2, a delegation from the Kurdistan regional government held talks in Baghdad with the Federal Ministry of Oil to resolve issues related to resuming oil exports from the region's fields and other issues related to the company's work. This meeting was scheduled to be held yesterday, Tuesday, but developments in the file prompted the date to be brought forward. These discussions come after 8 international oil companies announced last Friday that they would not resume exports, despite previous assurances from the Iraqi oil minister that they would resume soon. The Federal Ministry of Oil also called on the oil companies operating in the region to hold an expanded meeting to discuss the technical and logistical requirements for resuming exports. Economic expert Nabil al-Masoumi warned on Wednesday of a terrible backwardness in the Iraqi oil sector, pointing to clear contradictions in the policy of importing and exporting oil products. Al-Masoumi said in a statement received by Shafak news agency that Iraq exported about 12.910 million tons of petroleum products in 2024, including 11.548 million tons of black oil, equivalent to 90% of total exports. In contrast, Iraq imported about 2.483 million tons of gasoline in the same year, which, according to al-Masoumi, reflects the terrible backwardness suffered by the oil refining sector. He explained that black oil constitutes about half of the production of Iraqi refineries, although its prices in the global market are lower than the prices of crude oil. Al-Masoumi pointed out that the government had hoped to achieve self-sufficiency in gasoline after operating the Karbala refinery, but this did not happen due to the problems the refinery was suffering from and other reasons. Member of the Iraqi Council of Representatives Yahya al-Muhammadi expected, on Wednesday, the resumption of oil exports from the Kurdistan region via Ceyhan, Turkey, after it had been suspended for many months. Al-Muhammadi said in a statement to Al-Maluma agency that amending Article 12 constitutes a roadmap for resuming oil exports, noting that oil exports will be via Ceyhan, Turkey, through the SOMO company. He added that Article 12 of the budget law, which was previously amended, includes compensating the Kurdistan regional government for the costs of production and transportation for extracting oil.